Hello and welcome to episode 62 of PubShorts, the long and winding road to
It's,
research publications. My name is Dr. KK. I am the Innovation Officer at Trinca and Inago, and I have with me Tony.
Hi, KK. It's been a long and winding road, but we've got finally to episode 62. Um, yeah, I'm Tony O'Rourke, and I'm Vice President for Partnerships here at Inago. And welcome to Pub Shorts, which is a regular podcast that KK and I record where we discuss articles that have been recently published relating to the field of scholarly research and scholarly publishing, technology, funding, etc.
Right, and where, for a new listener or a new viewer, where can they find all the 61 remaining
Oh,
episodes?
they just have to go to YouTube, go to the Inago channel on YouTube, find the Pub Shorts playlist where all previous 61 episodes are loaded, and this one will be, of course, soon after.
Mm.
And you can share, you can join, you can subscribe, make comments for suggestions for future topics, and thank you for those people who've already suggested topics in previous episodes on YouTube.
Right, Tony. When we started discussing this episode in the writing meeting, we discussed. I mean, you insisted that we name this episode after a famous
I
Beatles song.
insist. I insisted that we name an episode after a Beatles song. Yes.
Why is that? And what?
Well,
What?
the long and winding road, which, by the way, is from. Probably good.
Yes,
Let
yes.
it be. Um, is they're one of the classic Beatles songs, and but the relationship to the long and winding road that the researcher has to take, that iterative process of peer review and consultation
Yeah.
and knowledge development. It seemed appropriate to name this episode accordingly.
Excellent suggestion, Tony. I totally agree. I love the Beatles, and I'm sure that you.
Thank you. I'm really proud of that suggestion.
Yeah. All right. So, are you ready? Because we talked about the long and winding road of the publication journey, and we are talking about peer reviews as well. And the first story is about peer review itself. It is a peer review for peer reviewers or peer reviews itself. So, it is an open access article published in PLOS One. Peer reviews of peer reviews, a randomized control trial, and other experiments. This is a long read, and I'll just read out my summarized notes. So, the study investigates whether the quality of peer reviews can be reliably evaluated by those within the review process itself. And this is a randomized controlled trial at NEUR IPS 2022 that manipulates review length to test for spurious quality biases. It also explores outcome induced bias, finding that our authors tend to rate reviews recommending acceptance higher. So that's interesting. I mean, if you are a reviewer and you're sorry, if you're reviewing a reviewer's work, and if you find that that reviewer has suggested that a journal or a paper is accepted for a journal, then you're likely to review that as higher than any other things. Interesting, as in results. Additional experiments measure inter-evaluator disagreement, miscalibration of scores, and commensuration bias, issues that mirror those found in paper review evaluations. Tony, you and I, we meet publishers to discuss peer review innovation, and many people, many of the publishers that we've met have talked about this. How do you reach a consensus when the reviewers are disagreeing with each other,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. In fact, we were talking to a publisher only recently about that.
Yeah, and so in all of this is interesting findings, and the findings finally reveal that the long reviews receive significantly higher quality scores even when the extra content is non-informative. People are simply, swayed by the fact that there's a long review a document in front of them with a lot of words, and they think that that's a very high quality review. And evaluations of review quality are affected by subjectivity, as we talked about bias and subjectivity as well in the recent meeting. And as a mapping from specific criteria, understanding, coverage, substantiation, and constructiveness to overall scores is inconsistent. And people are people, right, Tony? I mean, there's
Yeah,
a famous.
absolutely. And if
Yeah.
you think the peer review process after writing the original article is probably the most important stage that the article goes through.
Right.
So every year, millions of papers go through peer review just in the journal publishing world, let alone conference papers or internal peer review. So to be able to understand the bias that exists or potential bias that exists, or to measure the quality of peer review,
Mm-hmm.
to evaluate the quality of peer review, they might be affected by things like you say subjectivity, etc. or lack of understanding of the subject area, I think is very important. It's a little bit navel gazing, I suppose, in a sense,
Right.
um, in terms of research, studying research. But I think it is such an important role, and there's been such scrutiny on peer review
Mm.
recently that this is it's good to see this taking place. I mean, we're talking to publishers all the time about
Mm.
the tools that we provide um, that supports the peer review process. We have a peer review assistant. We have we have something called DocuMark, which will help publishers to understand how that peer review was actually created. How much of it was generated by AI, how much of it was generated by um, cut and pasting from another source, how much was actually typed in by the reviewer themselves. So it's assuring to know that the research industry, as an industry, is scrutinizing the quality of review, and I think it only adds to um, the integrity of
Right.
peer review.
Right. I mean, in that meeting that we just referenced, we also talked about the fact that some of these problems in terms of reviewers having, let's say, integrity issues in doing the review and writing the review comments, having bias, not having consensus, not having spent enough time. These are all problems that have existed as long as peer review has existed. So these
Yeah,
are not new problems.
no,
But
absolutely not.
what we are trying to do in terms of providing assistance with AI or guardrails is to have an AI that helps the reviewers do the review in a robust, scientifically valid way, so that they can do this properly with all the integrity checks and everything. And
And,
this is
and to make it as objective as
yeah.
possible.
Yes, and we've got a lot of good responses. So if a publisher is interested in finding more about, let's say, the AI peer review assistant, or what you just mentioned, the DocuMark technology, how can they get in touch with us, Tony?
They just need to contact me at tonyo@anago.com and I'll respond straight away.
Excellent. Can they find more about it on a website?
Uh, Peer review assistant, yes. I'm not sure whether we've actually put anything up on DocuMark yet, but I'm fairly certain if it's not now, then very soon.
Yeah, I believe you can go to inago.com /publishers and find more about all the technology that we have
Yes.
developed and we are interested in showing to the publishers. So, Tony, moving on to the next story. This is the state of research assessment insights from a survey of 6,600 researchers. Very interesting. So the researchers were surveyed about research assessment practices, and traditional metrics such as publication counts still dominate evaluation. And whatever citation related bibliometrics are still perceived to be dominating, but there's a push for more holistic approach in research assessments, and researchers apparently desire better recognition of societal and community contributions. I would say that that's a good sort of step forward. 55% of the researchers say that their work is mostly evaluated using classical metrics, citation metrics, and many feel positively about the current evaluation methods despite the concerns. So many researchers are comfortable with it. But eventually, all researchers want an ideal future with balanced qualitative and quantitative assessments. I think it's a very rounded sort of an article. It's not surprising, but at the same time, it's very nice to sort of see researchers expressing their own viewpoints regarding the existing research assessment techniques and what they would like. Your thoughts,
Yeah.
Tony?
No, nothing. I can't really add anything to this, but just to remind researchers and to remind publishers that if they're interested in tools that can help do that kind of analysis, we have tools like Inago reports and reference checkers, which will provide metrics or provide information that may support their findings.
Right. Thanks for that. And moving on to the next story, it's a Taylor and Francis story. Taylor and Francis celebrates 15 years of unique scheme supporting researchers in resource-constrained countries. To be fair, Tony, when I read this, I was not aware of it, but when we discussed this before we started recording this, you were aware of many similar programs. So let me quickly read out the notes. So they're celebrating the 15th anniversary of the STAR initiative, which is special terms for authors and researchers. So what is this initiative? It provides free access to articles from leading journals for researchers in resource-constrained countries. And the eligible individuals must be without institutional access, based in an eligible country, actively involved in research or authoring a publication, and willing to share the research journey. So that sounds like somebody who's not affiliated to an institution, somebody from a emerging economy, and who needs access. I think it's an excellent initiative, Tony. I believe you know of several such initiatives.
Oh gosh, yes. I mean, the Star Initiative, and I applaud Taylor and Francis for this initiative, is unique to Taylor and Francis in that it goes beyond the existing global arrangements such as the Research for Life project or Hinari or Agora. So there's been many of these projects over the last 20 years to try and make scholarly content available to researchers in resource constrained countries. And the Star Initiative, if I understand it rightly, is an extension of that in that it doesn't just talk to the institutions, it talks to the individual researchers.
Right, right, right. Excellent initiative. I was not aware of it. I would probably look at something like this if I were to be involved in a research project and
Well,
I need access.
if you're interested in this process anyway, I would recommend you go to the Research for Life
Mm-hmm.
website, which is actually, I think, still driven by STM, the trade association.
Right, right. Let me take a look at it. Thanks for that. Moving on to the last couple of related articles, both from Nature. It's an exclusive. The first one titled The Most Cited Papers of the 21st Century. I was, when I heard this, I mean, it's like a, top 100 list of the best songs in the 21st century. I was very excited. So this study by Nature revealed the most cited research papers of all time with the top spot held. Wait. I think I've skipped to the next one. Hold on. No, this is the right one. Okay, anyway. So many papers on biological and laboratory techniques are among the most highly cited, with some of the top 100 lists changing in a 2014 analysis. The current list requires over 30,000 citations to make the top 100. That's a lot of
That's a lot
citations.
of citations.
Yeah. And a 2015 paper by Microsoft researchers on artificial intelligence already ranked 5th. That's incredible. Like a paper which is about 10 years old is already ranked 5th. And 16 papers from the 21st century now make it to the all-time top 50, which is also quite incredible,
Yeah.
with notable rises in the ranking for software descriptions and computer-aided findings. Tony, are you surprised at this?
Not at all surprised. I mean, I know it's not a new thing. The electronic journals, which have been around now for more than 30 years, has changed the way research is accessed and effectively how research can be cited. So much more content is available now to researchers. Well, I think what I am surprised by when I read this article was how they because of the increased number of citations, that they moved from the threshold being 12,000 citations to be in the top 100 to 30,000, nearly tripling the number of citations that were required, and more papers were achieving that level of citation performance.
Tony, some people have, some researchers have been inspired by the way we name our episodes and have named their research papers also based on songs, I think. So if you look at the 7th top cited article that I just showed you,
I,
attention is all you.
I will.
Attention. Yeah. Attention is all you need. So, so interesting. So thanks for that. And the related papers, related article is another Nature news feature. Science's golden oldies. The decades-old research papers still heavily cited today. Look at everything is themed on music, and there are records on the wall in the infographic here. So let me read
We're on to a good thing, KK.
what. Well, Nature's article, this explores how some older papers, like from the previous century, are still heavily cited. These papers provide foundational information I mean, that's quite obvious. And so there are 3 bibliometricians who were tasked in analyzing reference lists from 2023, and they identified which older studies are frequently cited. Popular topics include artificial intelligence, scientific methods, and software. I mean, oh my god, another non-surprising results. Some studies published before 2000, the year 2000, Y2K remains still highly cited. So some of the top cited papers are deep residual learning for image. We've already gone through this list, I think. And a 1996 material science paper ranks 4th in citation. This work remains crucial for understanding electron interactions between materials. All I can tell you, Tony, is that this is interesting, and I love the fact that we have parallels between, let's say, citations and record record plays and everything in terms of songs and records. So, any other thoughts other than whatever we have discussed so far?
I think it demonstrates a seminal paper will always be a seminal paper. But I know one of the things I found interesting in the past was the relationship between the number of citations and the author. Particularly, I always used to think that Nobel Prize winners, their papers, their research was going to be the most cited, but it wasn't. It wasn't always, but of course, it's important in that particular field. So there can be some extremely important seminal papers in very niche topic areas, which will have nowhere near the level of citation to get into these tables, but it doesn't diminish from their importance.
Right. Are you ready for quick hits?
Go for it.
Okay, the first one, Norway SICT renews national partnership with MDPI. So it's the title is obvious. 36 institutions in Norway get discounts on article processing charges, and Norway is, as expected, is becoming a leader, at least within the context of the European Union. Do you find this news to be different from whatever we have covered so far?
Well, just to correct you, Norway is not a member of the European Union. It's one country that sits outside. So thank you. And no, it's just another good example of how important these national agreements are to make content available to researchers within local countries. And to do a deal with MDPI, I think it's very important. They're the world's largest open access publisher, and many of their journals are fundamental to research.
And this time we are flying across many oceans and land masses, continents, and this is a story titled Emerald Publishing and Call partner on new open access agreement. So what is, this is the Council of Australasian University Librarians. So this agreement helps in, yeah, Tony, you were saying?
I beg your pardon, it's librarians. I thought it was libraries. Oh, okay.
Maybe we can double check it, but at least the article says this.
Okay, no, I'm sure I won't question it.
Yeah. So this agreement helps authors in Australia and New Zealand to publish without restrictions. I'm not sure. I find a word which I've written, which probably is a typo anyway. It covers both hybrid and gold journals and offering wide publication access. So again, we've talked about many such agreements, but this is the first one from the land down under, which I'm very fascinated by.
It's the first one that we've discussed, but Call organization has existed for many, many years and has had consortia agreements with most, if not all, of the world's major research publishers since the 1990s.
Yeah.
So this is just a good example how a traditional agreement with a publisher like Emerald has probably transitioned from a subscribe-only agreement to a read and publish agreement like this.
Right. In a related story, I guess, Biochemical Society and Vanderbilt University
Libraries
sign open access agreement. Again, it's self-explanatory. The agreement follows fee-free open access publishing for the authors, and authors get full read access to Biochemical Society journal. So it's not like large, but still a related news story. Tony.
But it's not. But what it demonstrates, Biochemical Society is an important research society. Vanderbilt is a top university in the US. It's an example of many of these kinds of deals that have been done between societies and between universities at an individual level. So you could take this story and probably multiply it by tens of thousands,
right?
And you'll start to understand the impact. This is just an important example.
Right. Okay, second last story, Empowering Open Science, preprints.org and pre-review deepen their collaboration. So what does this mean? Authors can now request feedback directly from pre-review with one click from preprints.org. This integration aims to simplify workflows and connect researchers globally. So the whole idea is that the authors benefit from global feedback, improving research quality before formal submission. Interesting. Preprints, the ecosystem needs innovation. We are involved in a project in a related front, but any further thoughts on this?
Oh, no, I think this again demonstrates the work that preprints organizations like this, like preprints.org, are putting in place to further improve and ensure the integrity of the research that they're publishing. And I think, this is a very exciting development. And as we'll be notifying the world shortly, we have similar arrangements in place with other similar organizations that are looking to do exactly the same thing in terms of reinforcing the integrity process in for their services.
All right, and the last quick hit we have is related to EBSCO. EBSCO Information Services launches EBSCO Discovery, open education to reduce costs and expand student access. So, this platform apparently helps reduce textbook costs and supports educational equity. Libraries and faculty can easily find and use high quality, freely licensed materials and courses. And EBSCO obviously aims to bridge educational gaps for underrepresented learners with this initiative. It's quite true in the sense that through EBSCO, had access to a bunch of publishers and journals through the British Library, both in Kerala, Trivandrum, as well as in Bombay. Any thoughts on this? You might have more thoughts.
Um, no, no, not really. I suppose, but what it is does, EBSCO is an important provider of library services, of subscription services, you know, and they've obviously been integrating and changing some of their discovery products and services to make them more accessible as well.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so I just think this is it's a great step forward from them.
Thank you, Tony. That brings us to the end of the episode. So before I leave you, I'm going to ask you what you do over the long weekend over Easter.
Well, well, firstly, mourning the passing of
Oh,
our
okay. I'm sorry
late
for that.
Pope, of course.
Yeah.
Sad to see. He was obviously a very old man. Yes, being lots of music at the weekend, lots of music in churches and the like of the weekend, because Easter is obviously an important
Mm-hmm.
weekend.
Have you watched the movie Conclave yet?
Um, I've read the book.
Uh-huh.
Sorry, I've listened to the audiobook of it. I'm still not seen the film,
Yeah.
but it's one of my favourite authors, Robert Harris. I would urge anyone who's interested in what's going on at the moment
Right.
in the Vatican, understanding the process of how to select a pope, to read that, watch the film
Well,
or read the book.
as soon as we started talking about the conclave, you got a phone call. So
I know. Sorry, I can't answer either.
no, that's okay. That's okay. So quickly, Tony, for listeners and viewers who are interested in knowing more about the conclave, where can they find more PubShorts episode?
Um, let's stop. Oh no, it hasn't. Oh, it'll stop in a second.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you want to find out more about PubShorts, go to the YouTube channel, and we'll be able to go find any episodes. I'm totally put off by this phone ringing.
Okay. Go to the YouTube channel. There's a dedicated playlist for it, so you can find all the 61 episodes before. And if you like the content that you're hearing or watching, please subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell notification icon. And if you have any suggestions for us, Tony and I, please reach out to us. You can leave a comment in the YouTube, for the thread for the episode itself, or you can write to us by email or on LinkedIn. Wherever you get a chance, let us know what you like, what you do not like, what you'd like us to cover, and we are very grateful for your suggestions so far. We have tried to incorporate all your suggestions in our content. So that I hope that me taking over has stopped somebody trying to call you, Tony.
It has, thankfully. Yeah.
Okay. With that, with that potential security threat that Tony is getting right now,
Have a spam call or something.
Well, we talked about the Pope and the conclave, and as soon as we did that, we got a call. So with that, we come to the end of
It was the Vatican.
episode 62, The Long and Winding Road. And until the next episode, this is Dr. KK signing off on behalf of Tony as well as the team that helps us bring such content to you. We will see you in the next one. Bye, Tony. Take care.
Yeah. See you in the next one.
Bye.